Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're going to continue our study of the Gospel of Matthew. And we're in Matthew chapter 16, and we're going to finish the chapter today, reading verses 21 through 28. When we were together last time, Peter made his confession of faith, and Jesus called him blessed. And today, Jesus is going to call him Satan, and we're going to read why. From that time, Jesus Christ began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes and be killed and be raised upon the third day. This is an ongoing conversation that he's having with his disciples, not just his apostles, mind you, his disciples. Let's not forget there's a large group of disciples that follow him, and many of those are women. Luke makes this clear. And so he seems to be telling his traveling band of followers, all of them, this. And this is an ongoing conversation, not just a one time. He keeps saying this to them. He began to show his disciples. Peter took him aside and started rebuking him, saying, "God forbid it, Lord. This shall never happen to you." And he turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are not setting your mind on God's interests, but man's." Then Jesus said to his disciples, "If anyone wishes to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Whoever wishes to save his life shall lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake shall find it. What will a man be profited if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? What will a man give in exchange for his soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in the glory of his Father with his angels, and then he will recompense every man according to his deeds. Truly I say to you, there are some of those who are standing here today who shall not taste death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom." There's so much here, so much that's quite plain, and some that gives us pause and makes us think. So Jesus started telling his disciples this is what's about to happen, and there's a real corner turned at this verse. Same thing happens in Luke chapter 9. So we it's like cresting the hill, the first incline on a roller coaster. They crested it, or they are cresting it, and they're about to head downhill. Everything is now going to be pulling Jesus towards Jerusalem, and he's preparing his disciples for his own crucifixion. And so he's doing this for all of them. Peter takes him aside and presumes to rebuke his teacher and says, may God forbid, may it never be, meganoito. It's that one, I hate to say the word expletive, but it's used as an expletive throughout the New Testament. I don't mean a bad word or a cuss word, but just an exclamation. No, absolutely not. Who is Peter to use this tone with Jesus? I mean, it's unheard of. Would Paul ever speak to Gamaliel like that at this time? Evans, no, he would not. But Peter presumes to tell Jesus that his message is wrong. Why? Probably a mixed bag of reasons. Because it didn't fit with his notion of who the Messiah was going to be. Because he didn't want to entertain the thought of Jesus being killed and losing Jesus. I don't know. But whatever his motivation, and however noble that motivation might be, or misguided, it's just ridiculous that he would do this thing. And Jesus responds in kind and calls him Satan. Why does he do that? Well, in the first place, and that's the Hebrew word, by the way. That's not a Greek word. Devil is a Greek word. Diabolos is a Greek word. Satan is a Hebrew word. It doesn't always mean the devil, although it often does. Sometimes it just means your adversary. And so he could be using the word in that sense. You've made yourself my enemy. You're my adversary now. Maybe Jesus is speaking directly to Satan himself, who is using Peter, manipulating Peter to find a wormhole into Jesus' mind, into Jesus' consciousness. And Jesus names it and refutes it in the very moment that it happens. I don't know. But he does. He says, "Get behind me, Satan. You're a stumbling block to me. You're not setting your mind on God's interest, but men's." And immediately he makes a pronouncement to all apostles and for all time. If you're going to follow me, you've got to deny yourself. If you're going to follow me, you have to take up your own cross. It's impossible for us to imagine what a radical image that was for them. Crucifixion was reserved for the worst criminals the Roman Empire wanted to punish. And it was an awful, awful way to die. And to say that if you're going to follow me, you take up your cross and follow me. And in Luke's gospel, there's the word daily. Take up your cross daily and follow me. And then he asks these two questions that continue and will always be pertinent to any human being. You know, what do you gain if you gain everything in this earth but you give up your soul? And when you do give it up, how are you going to get it back? What do you have to give in exchange for your soul? More valuable than any of the riches that humans have generated on earth. There's nothing you can give for your own soul. And there is an answer to that question, you know, and it's the blood of Jesus Christ. He's the answer to that question. We can be forgiven when we have lost our souls because Jesus has paid the price for our souls on the cross. And then he promises them that there will be judgment and there will be a second coming, and it will involve angels, and there's going to be judgment. And then he says a weird thing, and I don't understand it, and I don't pretend to. I know what it doesn't mean. It doesn't mean the second coming came in 70 AD, and it certainly doesn't mean that there's somebody in a cave somewhere in the Sinai Peninsula who's 2,000 years old. It says, some of you who are standing here will not taste of death till they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. He might be. There's a difference between glory, coming in glory, verse 27, coming in kingdom, verse 28. I think those are two different things. Coming in glory is the second coming. Coming in kingdom, what could that mean? Maybe it's the day of Pentecost. Maybe it's the day that the message has gone out across the world. Maybe he's talking about what's about to happen on the Mount of Transfiguration. Maybe it's when he says it is finished and he ascends into heaven and the kingdom is inaugurated. I don't know. But I know that he's meaning something along those lines, because there is the day of coming in his kingdom and there's the day of coming in his glory. And those are two separate days. Okay, we're going to talk about the Mount of Transfiguration next time in chapter 17. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.